One of our attendees has said that COVID's going around the UK, and friends of ours just took a trip of the lifetime to, you guessed it, the UK, and came home with this nasty virus, multi-system, blah, blah, blah. And I, of course, assume I'm bulletproof because I've been taking supplements for so long. And generally, even when my kids got sick when they were little, I would just sail through. Not so this time. But it was really interesting because other than a bit of a sinus head cold, which wasn't stressing me, I was sneezing a lot and had a runny nose, but that was it. It wasn't really the respiratory system for me, although you'll probably hear me doing a lot of clearing my throat still. For me, it was unbelievable fatigue. Like we would describe that as limp dish rag fatigue, like just nothing. And a lot of mood dysregulation and physical fatigue. And son of a gun, if as it was coming on, it didn't look a lot like a histamine flare, I was sure that was what I had. So once I realized that this looked like the virus that my daughter had and that her boyfriend had and that his parents had, I went, okay, perhaps we're dealing with something other than a histamine flare. And in between much napping, I did a bit of research. The very interesting thing I found was that NAC, which is one of the supplements I sometimes recommend to people in terms of their oxalate journey, and another amino acid, acetyl L-carnitine. I'll have the proper spelling and where you can get these things and all that in the notes. So don't worry if you don't have a chance to take notes while I'm talking. Those two apparently are very helpful for the nervous system impacts of COVID. Now, I had not realized that COVID could impact the nervous system as well. But when I went and looked at research, we now have research which talks about the digestive tract, the respiratory system, obviously the musculature, the cardiovascular system, and now the nervous system. Like it's another one of those multi-systemic things, which actually makes it resemble a lot what oxalate can do when it comes to this stuff, because oxalate is also multi-systemic. And I think that what we're really looking at is to some degree the impact of a virus, or in the case of oxalate, a toxin, to the mitochondria for those systems, and also the kind of damage that both COVID as a virus and oxalate as an inflammatory driver can do. So N-acetylcysteine is, just for everybody's basic knowledge, half of what you need to make glutathione. And glutathione is your body's master antioxidant. We make that. So if we provide our bodies enough resources, generally speaking, our bodies will be doing whatever they can to create it, especially in response to inflammation. The other half of what you need for glutathione is glycine. But the thing is, glycine is really quite, I'm going to say, abundant in most people's diets. So we don't supplement glycine, and we don't actually want to necessarily supplement large amounts of glycine for a separate reason, which is that glycine is one of the amino acids that has a reputation for metabolizing into oxalate. So we have to kind of work a little nuanced here. And typically, the recommendations are to supplement NAC, and they're not to supplement glycine, even when you're talking about the production of glutathione. So research on NAC shows that it's doing a bunch of things. It's acting as an anti-infective. I've talked about this before, but the research on it, even with the fragile elderly, to help them fight off a virus or maybe even not get it in the first place, is pretty compelling in my opinion. NAC is also going to be an antioxidant on its own without being turned into glutathione. It's going to help support the mitochondria, support the body if there's oxidative stress. It's also a sulfur supplement, and there was implication in some of the research I read that sulfur supplements and anything that supports sulfation might also be helpful to viruses. So I'll dig further down that rabbit hole. But needless to say, I was very pleased with what I was reading because I keep NAC on hand. I don't necessarily take it constantly, but I do have it in the house. So I started on it as soon as I could. But I also found in this same piece of research that the kinds of symptoms that we see with oxalate, including brain fog, depression, anxiety, and that we also see with histamine, were symptoms that NAC plus and acetylcarnitine managed to help to keep those symptoms lowered. So it's really important that we're taking supplements and doing things to support the nervous system if the nervous system is being impacted. So this makes me think that I need to suggest to more people who are dealing with histamine that perhaps NAC is worth a try. And for those who might be more likely to react to certain kinds of supplements, what I would suggest is that NAC is one of the bigger guns. It's not your garden variety supplement. It's something that can have more impact on your body. So we might actually want people to start with the acetyl L-carnitine and then work up to NAC. Acetyl L-carnitine is one of the things that Susan Owens on the Trying Low Oxalates group has often suggested, very supportive for muscles. So I know a lot of people who are dealing with oxalate can worry about weight loss and particularly loss of healthy tissue like muscle. Carnitine is very helpful there. In fact, you can often find a plain version of that in supplement stores that cater to the workout crowd. I am going to suggest that you look at Pure Bulk because I think their product is cleaner, but let me say that it's not something that should be hard for you to find. I did not have acetyl L-carnitine on hand. I have not done the experiment to see if it will help with energy levels as I'm at this tail end, but I am thinking it's something I might add more regularly. There are a number of amino acids that are a lot more helpful and give your body choices in terms of what it's going to do with the nutrient. There was a throwaway line somewhere in the research that I read about any kind of sulfation support can be good when you're dealing with COVID. And interestingly enough, for most of us in the oxalate journey, any kind of sulfation support is going to be good for us too. So when I had enough energy that I wasn't worried that I was going to get in a tub and fall over or do something silly, because I was actually feeling quite dizzy with this bug. It was not a friendly bug. I got myself in an Epsom salts bath, and I think that was actually helpful enough to start me actually being aware of feeling a bit better. Not perfect, but I was going after that bath, oh, I definitely feel just a little bit better. The thing about things like a bath, it's gentle support. It's for the whole body because you can have nutrient coming in through the skin over your whole body. And in my case, I also added potassium bicarbonate. And while that's not something I've seen research on for COVID in particular, for histamine issues, bicarbonate can be very helpful. And for oxalate issues, oxalate actually competes with bicarbonate for uptake into the cells. So we may have talked about this before, but you have three kinds of cell transporters that are implicated in oxalate being moved into tissues. One is sulfate cell transporters. That's why Epsom salts, which is magnesium sulfate, it's definitely a 2-for-1. One is bicarbonate cell transporters. That's why sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate might be also very helpful in your bath. You're getting another electrolyte mineral and you're getting this bicarbonate. And the third one is chloride. And because we use chloride as an electrolyte all over the place, between those three, really oxalate can be going almost anywhere. And getting into that tub then, I knew it was helpful to my system in multiple ways. Oxidative stress, whatever, but also going to help with my electrolytes because between unfortunate frequent trips to the bathroom, not feeling like eating, and probably not drinking enough, I was a little worried about dehydration. So my gastrointestinal tract was not happy. I was trying to do whatever I could to provide some support there. And one of the things you can do is be able to get nutrients to the liver, that's the sulfate, and nutrients to the pancreas. That's the bicarbonate. So that's what I was about with that bath.